Okay, so here we have the WinBox-for-86Box program. You see I've got different versions of the early DOS PCs set up here. Compaq Portable, IBM PC-XT, Tandy 1000 I have set up that I've created already, but if you want to create a new machine, you hit their New Machine button, Next, give it a name, and then here are the ones that it has templates built in that aid in the creation and make it a little bit easier. So they have the general ones if you want to create something beyond the older PC XTs and the original retro DOS PCs, but they have a lot of the older ones here, the Compaq Portable, Compaq S Pro, all the different Portable 2, 3, 386, and some of the newer Compaq Preserios, IBM, the XT, PC Junior, the PS2 models, and the other one that I was looking at was a Tandy, so I chose the Tandy 1000 here because I wanted to do the comparison of how it compared to an IBM PC XT back in when it first came out in about 1984, and how it's enhanced video and sound, kind of made it a little bit better for early gaming. So I'm just going to cancel out of this for now. But so the first one we'll look at is the IBM PC-XT. So let's start that machine up. And you see when it starts up that actually does the RAM count, just like a real IBM PC did back in the day, up to 640K, which takes some time to count up. And then once it gets up there, just checked all the RAM, it will go ahead and boot. The other thing I should mention, if you want to load anything off floppies, you set the floppies up in the profile, but you actually load the floppies from down here. Almost like inserting a floppy. You have to basically have your floppy in an image format that ends with like disk1.img or whatever you've saved it to, and then you can choose existing image and mount it just like inserting an old 360K disk back in the days. So that's how you load a floppy. It was a little bit confusing first because I thought maybe you'd do it through the settings menu, but you choose your disk type in here, but you don't actually load the media. That's done within the interface of the main screen there with the disk icon. And also with hard disks too, you have to choose your hard disk, set it up, but you also need to choose a storage controller. So the 86Box is more like building a PC than some of the other DOS box or VM machines that you kind of a lot of that's done for you as you go through the process, but here you kind of have to go through. If you use this template, sometimes it sets some of these things up for you, but you might have to choose a storage controller if you have a hard drive and it wasn't originally, the machine didn't come with a hard drive. All the other things are pretty much set to default. I did add a serial mouse for the game that will come in later, but the display is the CJ that would have been an option back in the day, and the machine is an 8088 XT running at 4.77 megahertz with 640K of RAM. Okay, so this graphic kind of explains the vintage of the machines we're looking at. So the original IBM PC came out in 1981. The one we're actually comparing it to is the PC-XT, which came out in 1983, which is the machine that you could add a hard drive to. So that was a big deal. You could actually load your games on a hard drive instead of having to use floppies all the time. The PC Junior, I guess, came out the same year too. But the one we're comparing, or later on in that same year, the one we're going to compare it to is the Compaq Portable, which also came out in the same month of 1983. And it also came with 2 floppies originally, but you could have an optional hard drive. And then the Tandy 1000 came out in November of 1984, and you'll see even in the difference of that couple of years, there was quite a few enhancements made, and as far as sound and graphics that were in the base unit, so you'll see that when we actually try out the game. Okay, so here we have our IBM XT booted up. It's loaded the mouse driver from the autoexec.bat. So basically it boots up, runs config.sys and autoexec.bat to set up the DOS environment with a few things, and if you want anything to load automatically, like the mouse driver, you could put that into the autoexec.bat. And the game we're going to try out is Hoyle's Book of Games Volume 1. It's a collection of card games. And I have it installed and configured. You can rerun install to basically set up the parameters for the PC to match what you have. So we're going to use the best that the IBM PC XT could do was, without an EGA card, was CGA with RGB monitor when it first came out, which gives you 4 colors. And it had no enhanced sound card of any kind. This game actually came out in about 1988, it says, so it's a little bit newer, so it had some of the other optional sound systems that were available on different machines and different sound cards at the time. But the PC that came out in 1984 XT just basically used the internal speaker, had nothing else built in unless you added the sound card into a slot. So that's what we choose there. IBM compatible keyboard. Configure that, and we're going to use a mouse driver, and we don't need to reinstall it to the hard drive because it's already there, so we just escape and escape, and then run the program with Sierra. And this program is actually recommended for a machine that is 8 megahertz, so it takes, this is only 4.77, so it takes a little bit of time to run and come up, as you'll see here. Eventually we should get some background music when the game starts to load. If we click in here, we get the mouse action, and to get out of this you have to press F8 and F12 as it shows in the upper right hand corner there. But otherwise it captures your mouse to use it within the emulated PC, and you can't actually move even to the menus. So if you want to go up to do a reset or anything with these buttons, you have to press F8 and F12 at the same time to be able to get to the pull down menus or any of the buttons. So you can see it's loading in the background with its 4 colors, and you can hear the music playing, and the mouse is working. If we click and hold, start a new game, the game that I would usually play on this is Cribbage. But it does have a bunch of other games. But you can choose your deck for the backs of the cards, and then choose your game. pretty basic sound, just the single tone beeps. Trying to play music with the beeps. And here you choose your opponent. So you click. And then click up here to play. So again, because this is only a 4.77 megahertz, it takes a little while even just to load the different stages of the game, get to the next screen, which will have the cards laid out on a table with your crib board. And it has sound effects within the game for the dealing of the cards and the discarding or the passing to the crib. But yeah, it does take a while to let you select. Here we go, I got the arrow finally. So we'll throw away the 7 and the ace. So it wasn't too bad, I guess, for 4 colors at the time. You can basically tell what the suits of the cards are, but you'll notice when we move to the other machines that the amount of colors does make the game much more viewable on some of the other machines. So we'll cancel out of this for now. This guy will complain if you take too long to play. So I have to go F8, F12, get out of here. Okay, so the next machine we're going to look at is the Compaq Portable here. Now this Compaq Portable had an internal monochrome green screen, but you could run CJ or color graphics adapter programs on it, so it kind of emulated, even though it was a single color, it will run color graphics games, and you'll see different shades of green. So this 86Box emulator emulates the green screen with a machine option. And when you start the machine, you'll be able to see it where you can actually choose the green screen or choose a color screen if you want later on. So let's start this up. So under view here, EGA, SVGA settings, VGA screen type. You'll see right now it's set for a green monitor. So this is what determines whether it shows up as a solitary color, different shades, or whether you actually have a true RGB multicolor monitor, but we'll just leave it on the green for now. And all these machines basically use the machine's various ROMs, so sometimes you'll see some strange things going on that probably happened on the original machine as well, like that pattern that just popped up a few seconds ago. And this one, you'll notice that this machine did not count the memory, but it does take about the same time to boot, and then comes up with a C prompt. Let's see whether we've got the mouse loading here. We do not. So we'll go load the mouse. R is for resolution, so I usually set that to 1:1 because otherwise it tends to move a little fast. So this will kind of set the sensitivity of the mouse to be a little more compatible with the game. Otherwise it's a little too sensitive. Just run the install here to make sure. So this one will also say CJ with RGB 4 colors. And again, this machine did not have any special sound card. Basically the same as the IBM PC with just the internal speaker. Keyboard. Use the mouse. And escape out of that. And then we'll run it. So this one's starting up as well. I'm going to go F8 and F12 just to see what the settings are. So it's an 8088 running at 4.77 megahertz. Display is Compaq CGA, the internal card. Has a mouse, nothing for sound. Has a MFM storage controller and a 10 meg hard drive. And a 360K floppy. So here we are in the game. So you see what it looks like. It's basically a pretty close representation to what it would look like on that machine with the internal green screen. So this one you don't even really have the benefit of the 4 colors, even though we chose 4 colors. So you'll see when we get to the cards here that you'll basically only be able to tell the difference in the cards probably mainly by the shape of the graphics, not so much the colors. So it probably made games like this a little bit harder to play. You could also attach an external monitor to the portable, because it had an external port as well as driving the internal monitor. I guess, yeah, the red cards show up in green, the black cards show up in black, so at least you have black and green on the screen, I guess. So you can actually switch this on the go, I believe. So let's go F8, F12, If we go view, so basically by switching that, you can make it look like the IBM PCXT. So this would be what it would look like if you had an external monitor attached. But with the internal monitor, it basically was a green screen monitor. It looked like this. So that's how you change the view from a single color with 86Box to RGB monitors through the view pull down menu here. So, but you do have to press F8 and F12 to get in there. So if you click back in here, you'll be locked into here again. And then you can play the game, but you can't move up to the 86Box menus. Then the last machine we're going to look at for comparison is the Tandy 1000. So we'll start that up. And it has a different way of displaying the memory. It just memory size equals 640K. And it doesn't actually count it like the IBM, but at least it gives you a message. I guess that's a little different than what the Compaq did as well. But it will eventually beep and boot, as you can see there, to the hard drive and loads the mouse driver. So on this machine, it's an 8088 Tandy 1000 running at 4.77, again with 640K. Display, you don't have a choice here. It's using its own internal graphics controller that was capable of 16 colors. It was a CGA, sort of an extended CGA graphics adapter, not EGA, but kind of a unique version of CGA that was able to display more colors. It basically looked like EGA, the later EGA card that came out, because it was able to display a similar amount of colors. And we have the serial mouse. We have MFM hard disk controller. I have 2 drives here. Sometimes I use a secondary drive to actually get the applications loaded, because you can actually, on some of these, you can, if they're VHD files, you can actually use Windows Disk Manager to mount them on your Windows 10 machine and actually mount them as read-write, and then copy your various games or applications that you want to the hard drive. So I did that. That's basically how I load things that are bigger than a floppy that I might want to copy between my Windows 10 machine that I've downloaded things from to these virtual machines. So it shows up as a VHD, so that one is one in particular I think that you can load with Windows 10 disk management, because you can attach VHDs and basically make them readable. And it has a 360K drive as well, so basically a hard drive and a floppy drive. And then under sound, though, there's one difference here. So this basically has its own sound. So I chose Tandy PSSHA clone. So basically the IBM PC Junior and the Tandy had a special 3-voice sound card built into their motherboards. So that's basically what this is choosing here. So now, on this one I've got Hoyle on the D drive, I think. notice right away that the graphics are a lot sharper, and you can actually hear the difference in the sound too. You'll hear that 3-voice sound chip actually playing the music, and it sounds quite a bit different. Same song, but obviously enhanced. And here you can see the difference in the colors. So that's what the difference of about a year and 8 or 9 months or whatever it was between the XT and this machine. Although the PC Junior came out, I guess, in the fall of 83, so it had similar features. I'm not sure about the graphics on the PC Junior, but the sound would have been similar. So it's running about the same speed, even though it's got still 4.77 megahertz, so it still takes a while to load the gameplay board. But there it is in better colors. And the sound of the deal is a little different too. So that basically shows you the difference between these early DOS machines. And then from then on in, you could add cards. EJ cards would basically make the IBM PCXT look much like this. And the 286 came out, which was a faster machine, which would make games like this play a little bit faster. And then VGA came along, and things kept proceeding from there. Okay, so that does it for this video. So thanks for watching, and hopefully you've learned something about the early history of some of the first DOS compatible PCs. Thanks again.